Remember that frame rate bug that we acknowledged and just moved past. It's time to return to that and fix it. We'll be replacing the problematic movement code with something production ready. Proper frame rate independence, cleaner structure, and a better fill. I realized that before we start adding fancy things like actor spawners, projectiles, and fleshing out the damage system, whilst we're doing this refactor and improvement of the base code, we should probably return and make sure we don't forget about the movement and the bug that we're already aware of. The offending code that we need to fix is in our player class. So if you don't already have that open, go ahead and open bp_plain player. In my case, I'm just going to press middle mouse button, close the tabs that we won't be using, so the base class and the enemy class, and navigate into the handle movement function just over here. So this is the code that we want to replace and improve. Now the first thing is after the parent handle movement, we want to alt-click and unhook this code. Some people have different opinions on this type of thing. Again, I wanted to keep focus on code structure, good practices, and things like that. What you may see, especially in C++ code, is some developers might keep the old code that we're trying to replace. Maybe put this in a comment just in case you wanted to see it later, in case you think you might need to fall back on this. That ends up with a cluttered workspace. You have maybe a lot more code in your C++ than you need. In Blueprints, obviously, we're going to have a lot more stuff just in the graph than we need. And ideally, we'd be using something like GitHub for source control anyway. So if we ever did need to look at old code, ideally, we'd just roll back our repository and view that through Git or Perforce or something like that. Now, in this case, I'm going to keep this just for a moment because I think there's a few things we can simply copy and paste for quickness, but we will be getting rid of this code entirely. So we're going to start this from fresh. The first thing we want to do is we're going to pull from our execution pin up here, and we're going to create something called a sequence. We want this option just here. And if you haven't seen these before, sequences are heavily underutilized. They make our blueprint read like traditional code, meaning from top to bottom, left to right. Each of the then pins handles a specific task, or at least that's the way that we should think about using these. It's much cleaner than logic stretching across all three monitors just because you have this long line of logic. Just to point out, I'm not showing off, that was an exaggeration. I do not actually have 3 monitors. There are other benefits and reasons that you might want to use this, but the main thing though, going back to sequences, is that they are just a really nice way to help structure our code and help us think logically, breaking things down essentially into steps. You're saying do this, then do this, then do this, and you try to keep everything somewhat unique to a given task. So the first thing we actually want in our given task is that we need to calculate our target movement speed. We're already doing that down here, so this is one of the things that we can just grab. If we grab the code up to the target movement speed node, press Ctrl and X, and then come on over and paste this over. So this will be the very first task that we give ourselves on our sequence. One other thing that can help us keep the code a little bit readable is if we double click on a wire, this will give us a reroute node. We can move this up here because we want to make sure we're going to have enough space essentially for the different then path that we're following. Now, one thing we are going to change is we're going to be creating our own interpolation. We won't be using FInterp 2. For that reason, we're going to change a little bit of the get world delta seconds. I'm going to get rid of this node here, the multiply, hook this straight up into set target speed, and we're going to make this frame rate independent a little bit later. We'll keep this around. We will need this in just a moment, the get world delta seconds, but that's pretty much it. That's our first step. Our first thing we need to do is have a target to reach. That then allows us, we can go down to then 1, and what we're going to do here is calculate our own custom interpolation alpha. So this is going to get a little bit mathematical, but it's going to be the key to proper frame rate independence. We'll go through, we'll add this in, and then I'll step back through and try to explain why we end up with the calculation we have. So the very first thing that we want is our movement interp speed here. So we're going to control drag this in and get the movement interp speed. We'll multiply this by our delta seconds, which is why I made this available just a moment ago. So we're going to have our get world delta seconds to start making our calculation frame rate independence again. We then want to negate or invert the calculation that we create. So we're going to multiply here. We'll get a multiply node and multiply this by -1. From our calculation here, we're going to pull again, and we're going to search for something called exp. This is the exponential value, so it says here, this will return the exponential e to the power of the value. So we'll use this, and then finally, after our exponential node, we're going to pull from here, and we're going to subtract, so just press the minus key, find subtract, and subtract 1 from the final calculation here. And the important thing, before we forget, we obviously don't want any magic numbers, we're going to pull from the final pin, we're going to promote this to a variable, and we'll call this one move alpha. If you've been creating categories, you may want to move this into the movement category, as of course this is going to be movement specific. We're going to hook this up to our execution pin, the then 1, and we now have our alpha code ready to go. So this is our smooth interpolation that we'll be using in a more kind of manual and intentional way in our code. So just to focus back in, what this is doing, this is giving us 1 minus e to the negative speed times delta. Essentially, this is providing a smooth decay curve. That's the main reason that we need to use the subtract 1 at the end, as we want this to decay over time. And the reason that we need to use a formula like this is going back to the main source of the problem we're having between different frame rates and keeping things frame rate independent. The FInterp function is actually providing a linear approximation, and that's what's breaking at low frame rates. In comparison, if we create a function like this that we can use with a standard lerp function, this exponential approach gives us mathematically correct interpolation regardless of frame rate. So that was the main goal here, is we actually just want to completely stop using this. Finally, keeping in mind that we want to try and do very unique specific things per line, we're going to add another pin, and we want the then 2 pin just here. We're going to pull from here, and we want to do that final thing, which is actually using the current speed, providing an interpolation to it. We still want to use interpolation, but just the more rudimentary, basic version with our own calculation on top. So we can pull from the execution pin, we can find the set current speed, so setting the value that we've been tracking. And this is where we want to pull from this pin here, and we're going to search for lerp. And this time, we just want to use the standard float lerp. So you can see it's slightly more simplified. Instead of having the current, the target, a delta time, and an interp speed, if we wanted to change the interp speed, we'd need to add some kind of offset here. All we're doing is providing that exponential curve, which is going to be our alpha. So if we pull in the move alpha, we can drop this in here. But besides that, we're essentially still doing the same thing. We're going to be moving from A to B. And I mentioned this when we first looked at the FInterp 2. We can kind of have point 1 and point 2, or point A and point B. So we're still doing the same thing. We're going from A, which is current speed, to B, which is our target speed, over a duration of time. And we're now basing this off of our own custom moving alpha. So that's the main change here, is the way that we're setting current speed is being updated. So if we go through, we can actually delete this now. So we can see we're sort of most of the way through updating our code base. I'm going to double click here again to make another reroute node, just to keep this somewhat tidy, move things out the way, just give ourselves enough space. So the final thing is we want to set our location again. We're going to do something slightly different here as well. So after we've set the current speed, once we're now tracking the speed, we want to pull from our execution pin, and we want to search for something called add actor world offset. So we can see the option just here at the top, add actor world offset. So for our use case, this is actually the better solution compared to set actor location for physics-aware movement. The only thing that we really need to change is we're going to right-click on the delta location vector here, split the structure pin so we have the same results as before. We want to take our current speed, so we could plug that in if you wanted, but in this case I'm just going to control drag current speed in. We're going to multiply this by delta seconds, so we're going to get another get world delta seconds, and we'll plug this in to our result here, and then of course we're going to make this the y because we're moving side to side, so we want that on the y-axis. And that's pretty much it. So we've now updated, we can get rid of this as well. We've now updated our movement code. We are tracking the target speed a little bit differently. We've got our completely custom movement alpha based on a decay curve. And we've changed a little bit the way that we're handling the current speed and how we're plugging that into the world location. Now, one thing that we could do here, just to improve things a little bit, is we could go back into commenting things. So again, this is a nice use of comments when we've got these nice big splits of specific logic in our code. So what we could do is I'll grab these nodes up here, press C, and if I wanted to give this a comment, I'd maybe say something like set speed for the plane to reach. And so that I didn't need to dive into the code later, I could just specify that this is specifically the target speed that we're looking at. Again, I might give these some kind of more unique colors just so that the comments stand out against other things like our to-do that we created earlier. We don't need to do this and make everything look really pretty. You can definitely get carried away with that. But when I change the color of things, it's more so that at a glance, I know that I use a specific gray for comments. I use a specific red for potentially broken code or something that needs to move all together. I normally use like a green for to-do. So again, just at a glance, I can see as I'm going through my code, these are just comments when I need a refresher. This is something I really need to get rid of later, and things like that can become useful. So I give these like a very blue grayish color just to remind myself. Just going to press Control C and Control V to get another comment over here, kind of duplicate this one. And we'll move this roughly in place just so I didn't need to set the color again. And this is one of those things, once you get used to shortcuts and things like that, the tiny bit of extra time it takes to give yourself a custom color and sort of theme things a little bit doesn't actually add that much overhead to your development time. So this, if I was leaving myself a comment for later, is helping us track alpha for use in our interpolation function. Once again, just reminding myself that specifically, this is updating the move alpha function. And then we want maybe one more comment. So like I've mentioned, I won't do this for every line of code, and I won't do this for the rest of the project and the videos, as the videos would get too long. But just to show the concept as we go through some of these bigger refactors and changes which might be a little bit more confusing, I think this is definitely valuable to see. So we're just going to move these into place. And what I might call this one is we're updating our current speed and then setting the location of our plane. And as I say that, this is actually another really useful thing, is I'm actually now questioning my own code because we're doing 2 things per line. And if you remember, I said the general rule is with a sequence, we kind of treat them a little bit like functions, where functions should be doing one thing specifically and one thing really well. So at the moment, we're mostly following that. This is setting specifically the target speed. This is calculating and setting specifically the move alpha. But this is now actually kind of doing 2 things. It's setting the current speed and it's then moving the plane. So what I might be tempted to do is we'll add another then pin down here, press Control and X, Control and V, hook this up. And again, just more than anything, I could have left it, but just to show how easy it is to keep your code clean and sort of follow specific rules and structures. So it's now, we're actually sticking to the rules that we gave ourselves, and I just need to move things around just a little bit and maybe add another reroute node here. Just tidy things a little bit, again, we're not trying to make this artwork, but the easier it is to work with, our future selves will be grateful. What we're doing now is, if we kind of think of the code, we can come and give this its final comment. So this is setting the current speed based on a simple interpolation, so a simple lerp. So that's the one thing that this line is doing specifically. And then again, we need one final comment, so Control-C, Control-V, put this in place. And we now have a really nice logical break. So this is now simply updating the plane location. So then if we were to read this, we can see specifically what's happening. We're setting the target speed. We're updating the move alpha, which is used for the interp function later. We're using that interp function and setting the current speed based on that. And then we're taking those variables and we're updating the plane's final location. So this is now probably better than what I had just a moment ago. It's only one small change, but again, just sticking to those rules. We kind of think of these as small functions essentially, and they're all doing that one job very specifically, and they're doing it well. Keeps things tidy, keeps things easy to read. And if we ever needed to come back and remove something, add to it, then it's going to be much easier to update and fix our code in the future. So slight side tangent there. I wasn't expecting to go that much in depth on code cleanliness, but I just again saw the opportunity because I kind of went against what I'd mentioned at the beginning of the topic. With that done, that is the movement now ready to go. What we need to look at next is the rotation system. It's going to be the same problem because we're making use of the same type of thing. We have if we go to handle rotation, we have a really simple function, which is again, the really nice thing that Unreal does for us. It provides a lot of these helper functions, this built-in interp2, nice and simple, one node, a few nodes next to it for the calculation, and then set the active rotation. And we're kind of good to go for testing. But something that people need to be aware of is that generally it's only kind of good for testing. We probably want to start rolling our own code when we get more serious and in deep with things. Before moving on to fixing the rotation, just a couple of things to check in the handle movement. Because we're going to be driving the current speed a little bit more manually this way, we probably want to make sure, I just noticed when I clicked it earlier, current speed has a default value. Default value here was essentially when this was originally our general movement speed. So we're going to want to reset this and make sure current speed, target speed, movement interp speed is going to have a value. But move alpha, target speed and current speed are all set to 0 by default, and that these will only be calculated at runtime. The other thing, same problem, really easy to make again, is I almost forgot to tick the sweep function. So this has the same function as the set active location function we used previously. So we need to make sure that the sweep is enabled. That should be pretty much good to go. This won't work fully at the moment. And I just realized we did this the wrong way around. I think I was telling you to subtract the right thing earlier, but during implementation, I hooked this up the wrong way. So if we alt click after the exponential, really important here, we want to subtract our calculation from 1. So we're working back from 1. We're making that decay curve from 1 based on this update over time. Okay, so yeah, it's just testing quickly there to make sure this still works. As I mentioned, the rotation is going to be a little bit borked, but we still have the same movement, so we have some nice smooth movement. The rotation, because is based on the speed that we have, that's completely broken, but this is something which we can work with, and we can kind of improve that as we go through and refactor the rotation. So just a couple of final recaps there. Make sure that we're doing our calculation for our exponential value, and then we're taking that away from 1. So it's 1 minus our exponential calculation here, and that is the result that we want for our move alpha. Current speed, target speed, ideally are going to be set to 0. We're calculating that here, multiplying those back together, and we get a nice frame rate independent movement here. So this is still kind of feeling and working very similar to what we had previously. You may find you need to tweak the speed a little bit now, but we're very close to what we had. Rotation's broken, which as I mentioned is expected because we're using a very simple calculation here based on the target speed and just multiplying that against tilt factor. And now the target speed or current speed, is being handled in a very different way. With that done though, we have the movement improved. It's a really good groundwork to get started, and then we can jump straight into rotation. I appreciate these are quite heavy topics as we go through this, but hopefully taking some time in between the topics, pause again whenever you feel you need to, and really try to understand what we've been doing and why these changes are going to be working. I've tried explaining the maths and stuff behind them. Some of the stuff is really hard to get across without actually having hands-on experience with the source code. So that's another thing, is you could jump into Unreal Engine source code, find the lerp function in C++, and again, even if you don't fully understand C++, that's fine. Most of it is very much human readable. The comments are all there. It's explaining what's happening on the FInterp function step by step. And sometimes just diving into the source code that way, since it's all readily available, can be really useful, and you'll start understanding some of the limitations of just using the pre-built, predefined functionality provided by the Unreal Engine. Not to say that it's bad. As I mentioned, it has its use cases, but we do find these fringe cases where it just doesn't work and we need to roll our own code. So hopefully this has proven useful. If it has, again, your support for the channel is always appreciated. Take a look at the different rewards provided through Patreon or the YouTube memberships. All of the links and details for that will be in the description below. A big thank you for everyone who's already supporting. It's pretty much the only thing which is going to allow me to keep making these more in-depth, long, and I suppose somewhat niche topics for people who really want to learn more in-depth on what's going on inside of Unreal. So thank you again for all of your support on the channel.